Hello everybody, here we are with a special version of Full Force. We're going to be doing a Full Force draft on Eternal Masters. And the deck that we're going to be going over first is going to be Black-Green Elves. So there's a lot of different archetypes in this format. There's Burning Vengeance, there's Elves, there's kind of White-Blue Flyers, there's Threshold, the red-white aggro. So there's a bunch of different things. We're doing the Elves portion this time, so it looks like we're probably taking Thornwheeled Archer here. Worn Power Stone I've found to be less impressive than I thought it would be. This card's really insane in a lot of formats, including a lot of cubes, but just hasn't been great here. There's nothing that's that easy to ramp into, and there are some very aggressive decks. Elves being one of them. Elves can be very aggressive. Since his Divining Top is not great in a draft. It's best when you can shuffle it, so I'm not even that sad to lose it. I would certainly be willing to take it in an elf deck if I thought it was good, but I don't actually think it's that great here. So I guess I'll just take Thornwheeled Archer. It's perfectly acceptable. We might be able to splash a color as well. Something that the Elves deck does have in this format is access to Civic Wayfinder, which is the 3-mana 2/2 elf that when it comes into play you get to search your library for a basic. And that's just really, really helpful if you want to splash. It's actually quite a fantastic card. It's really underrated, I think. We have, wow, double Mistral Charger. This card's one of, again, we talked about that red-white aggro deck. This one's pretty aggressive. I mean, a 2/1 flyer for 2 is, it's tough to deal with sometimes. Blightsoil Druid is nice, though. Being able to ramp mana is pretty big in Elves. Rancor might just be better. We want to take as many Elves as possible to cut them off. But Blightsoil Druid is one of the least important ones, and Rancor is actively just kind of insane. Being able to rebuy it over and over and over makes a huge difference. The card's really disgusting, so I think I'm just going to take Rancor. Now we have Sylvan Might, Elephant Guide, no Elves. Flame Jab is awesome against us, and just a very, very good card in general. Retrace on it is very important for things like Burning Vengeance, and there's a lot of creatures that have 1 toughness in the format that are pretty important. You can already see in this pack. I mean, there's Carrion Feeder, Wake of Vultures, Thornwheeled Archer. All of them die to Flame Jab, so Flame Jab is surprisingly powerful. We also have Coalition Honor Guard, which is very, very frustrating to play against. This card's constantly underrated, but, I mean, right now, of course, like I said, we are trying to be the elf deck, so I'll take Sylvan Might here. I think that it's just okay to take it. I mean, having Flashback is nice. The Trample can be important. Plague Witch is okay. Pacifism's great. I could take the Pacifism and hope to splash in Elves here, so it's certainly possible to do that. Plague Witch is really nice sometimes. It does hard counter certain cards that are very, very powerful. Things like Mother of Runes. So like Mother of Runes being the 1-mana 1/1 that taps and gives your creature a protection from a color of your choice. And this card obviously just hard counters that, because as soon as they tap it to give something else protection from a color, then you can just shoot it down. So that's pretty nice. I think that we just take Pacifism over the Plague Witch. Plague Witch goes really late. And Pacifism is strong enough that I would want to splash it here. Another deck is Green-White Enchantments, but I really would like to try and be the elf deck. We have Pilgrim's Eye here to help splash, so that's pretty good. So we can help splash a little bit of the white if we want to. Singular Autocrat is interesting for the Sacrifice deck, because it makes you a lot of little tokens, or for the token deck, because there is actually Intangible Virtue, which pumps all of your tokens. Ballynaut Cohort and Hookmaster are both pretty decent white cards in aggressive decks. Juggernaut is okay. It's certainly decent. It's a very aggressive card. I mean, 5/3 for 4 is not bad. But I don't know. I like Pilgrim's Eye a lot. I like being able to play an extra color if I really want to. I think I actually take Assassinate here. It's the first real sign of life that we've had for black, and Assassinate's just kind of nice. We need some kind of removal in the format. I mean, Pacifism's good, but Annihilate seems maybe even better sometimes. There are some tap abilities that you do want to get rid of, and Pacifism doesn't deal with those. Obviously a lot more expensive, so it's not perfect, but I don't mind grabbing it. Now, this is interesting. In the elf deck, you actually want Gravediggers. You have things like that Plague Witch that we saw. You also have Lyssalana Scarblade, which is the elf that taps and gives a creature -X/-X, which is equal to the number of elves you control, but you have to discard an elf card to do it. So you can like discard a Deadbird Shaman, kill something, and then Gravedigger, get back Shaman, and then do it again. So Gravedigger can be really important in the deck. That being said, I have almost no elves right now, and I kind of don't want to pass any, because if we're going to be trying to make this deck work, we're going to need some elves here. So I'm going to take the Dead Bridge. Zealous Persecution. I will take a Zealous Persecution and possibly splash it along with the Pacifism. Like I said, there's a lot of creatures that have 1 toughness in this format, so being able to just, like, kill all of their 1 toughness creatures and pump your entire team is pretty insane. Coalition Honor Guard, Milliken. Alright, we'll take the Coalition Honor Guard. This is looking like it's going to be a very tough one to force. I don't know that we've ever had to actively switch in a full force episode, but this might be one. I mean, we got both Mistral Chargers to wheel. White seems super open. Take Wake of Vultures, and we're just not getting any elves. That being said, in Pack 2, we're probably going to get a lot of elves, because we didn't see any in Pack 1, we should get them in Pack 2. We're looking for things like Elvish Vanguard, Timberwatch Elves, the Lyssalana Scarblade, Huntmaster. There's a lot of cards like that we're looking for. We don't have any of them right now. We have none of the payoff cards, which is certainly unfortunate. Singer Autocrat, sure. Wake of Vultures is fine. These are all just like kind of bottom of the pack garbage cards that we don't really care about. Wake of Vultures might be a little annoying against us because we can't deal with flyers that easily. We really just have Thorn-Wheeled Archers. Maybe a Sentinel Spider or 2. But those obviously don't really count towards our elf total, which we want to have pretty high. And Welcome Guide. So, what we'd like to open here is... trying to think about like the most important elf. I think it might be Timberwatch. Timberwatch elf is really, really high up there. Unfortunately, we have no elves. That's not a great spot to be in. There's Centaur Chieftain, which is decent with Threshold. Gives your entire team +1/+1 and Trample when it comes into play if you have Threshold. So it becomes a 4/4 haste with Trample and gives the rest of your team +1/+1 and Trample. There's Abundant Growth, so we can splash more white. And it's looking like we are just straight 3 colors, which is not really where I want to be in this format. This format's all about being synergy, I think. And just playing like random 3-color deck because it's got good cards in it, I don't think works out as well as you'd like. Honden of Night's Reach is really slow, but it's also very powerful. Making your opponent discard a card every turn is actually pretty decent. I don't know. It's either Chieftain or Honden. I'm pretty sure here. Not happy with either one. Tragic Slip is okay, but I think that it's much better in a sacrifice deck. I'm going to take the Chieftain here. We've got a lot more green cards right now. Alright, now here's some Elves. Wow, these are really good cards for us. Alright, so Elvish Vanguard is nice, and whenever another elf comes into play, you get a +1/+1 counter on it. Wirewood Symbiote is fantastic once you start getting Civic Wayfinders, or you have a couple Scarblades or something, because you return an elf you control to untap something. So you need, if you have a couple of really good tap creatures, or you have a couple of elves with really good come into play abilities, like Civic Wayfinder, the card gets absolutely absurd. And when you have both, it's just unbeatable almost. So I'm mildly tempted to just take Wirewood Symbiote just because it has the most payoff, but the problem is I actually have no way to pay it off yet. I mean, I have 2 elves, neither of which have a tap ability or a come into play ability. So I think we take Scarblade. It's certainly possible that I take Vanguard. It's really close between the two of them. They need a lot of elves for either one of them. This is a common, this is an uncommon, so I think I'm going to take the uncommon on the probability that I'll see more Elvish Vanguards, and I probably won't see more Scarblades. Okay, so now we have another Scarblade, but we also have Civic Wayfinder. Civic Wayfinder is really strong. I might want Wayfinder more, just because it does, like I said, look like we might have to splash white. If we splash white, it's possible to get some Hondens as well. Or just other colors at all. I mean, we could splash red or blue or something too if we have Civic Wayfinder and Pilgrim's Eye. Certainly reasonable. Twisted Abomination is actually a huge finisher, by the way. We're not going to try and go for it here because we need to shore up our synergies with Elves first. But a 5/3 that regenerates every turn is almost impossible to deal with this in the format. Not to mention the fact that you can just like Swamp Cycle it early and then reanimate it because there's like Animate Dead, or you can Gravedigger it back to get extra value. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with Twisted Abomination. The card's very underrated right now, I think. Well, it's starting to go a little more early, so people I think are starting to catch on. The card's very good. Victimize. Well, I only have 2 come into play abilities right now. But Victimize certainly is interesting. There's also Jungle Hollow to help with some splash colors if I want. I'm really interested in Victimize. Victimize is a very powerful card. So it's possible that I want that. I think that I'm just going to take Victimize and we'll see what happens here. There's a lot of token generation that you can have in Elves as well. You can get Imperious Perfect or Lissalana Huntmasters, like I said before, and they all generate elf tokens. So if you can get a few elf tokens out, you can just sacrifice an elf token to get back 2 creatures that you had killed previously. And most of the time, I mean, if they're dead, your opponent might have used removal on them. It could be like a Timberwatch Elf or a Scarblade or something that's kind of a combo piece for you. So rebuying those seems pretty good. Wake Dancer, Enchantress, Roots. We'll take Roots here. Just a bad sleep paralysis, if you remember Shadows over Innistrad. Basically the exact same card as Sleep Paralysis, except in green. And it can't hit creatures with flying. So it's slightly worse. But we'll just take it anyways, because there's really nothing else to get. Gravedigger is good. I do like a Gravedigger. And we're not passing too much. There's pretty decent red and white cards here. Keldon Marauders is a possible 5 damage, which is kind of scary for 2 mana. And Raise the Alarm goes in a lot of different decks. Like I said, tokens can be very important. Wow! Okay, so I wonder if Elves are just, like, not open? Like they're not being opened. Like, I think that if Timberwatch Elf is going this late, I feel like people are probably not in Elves, but they just haven't opened a lot of Elves, because Timberwatch Elf is frankly absurd. This card is super broken. I mean, what happens is then your entire team attacks every turn, and anytime that they try and block, you just pump whatever they block, and if something isn't blocked and you can deal just damage to your opponent's face, you just pump it. Like, they can't win, they can't win at all when this is on the board. Like, how can you have combat when you can just randomly tap a creature and add, like, +4/+4 to it? It's absolutely insane. Plague Witch is really good, just as an elf, but I love Phyrexian Rager. I mean, Rager is better, for sure. Hands down, Rager is just a better card. That being said, I really need Elves when I have... I do have the payoff now. I have the Scarblade, I have the Timberwatch Elf. I'm starting to get a little bit of that payoff going. And so I think that I just need to up my elf count. And it's also decent enough against a fair number of decks. Like, there's a non-zero percentage of creatures that are just, like, 1 toughness that you can just pick off. For example, Lissalana Scarblade. Honden of Night's Reach. Well, I might just play that. Ooh, wow, Wirewood Symbiote Wield. Alright, yeah, we are definitely in some gas here, so... If Wirewood Symbiote and the Lissalana Scarblade, yeah, nobody is actually in Elves. We just had a really, really bad pack 1, so this is looking really good going into pack 3 if that's the case. Although Elvish Vanguard didn't come back out of Wirewood Symbiote and it. We had the Lissalana Scarblade, Wirewood Symbiote, and Elvish Vanguard. We got the Symbiote, and we grabbed the Scarblade the first time. But, I mean, the second Scarblade came back, so I feel like somebody just, like, hated the Elvish Vanguard because there was nothing in the pack for them. They just didn't want to play against it. Seems pretty reasonable. Take a Ballynock Cohort. Seal of Cleansing is a decent enough sideboard card for us. We do have the outs to be playing some white spells, so might as well have something that kills enchantments. Alright. Take a gaseous form. Sorry, I've got a kitty on my desk right in front of my screen right now. He's trying to figure out everything that's on my desk and knocking it all over. So I'm really looking for probably some Vanguards now. I need some 2-drops. Right now we only have Thornwheeled Archer and Plague Witch. Yeah, we want some Llanowar Elves too. We haven't seen a single Llanowar Elf. Wow, Foiled Chain Lightning's pretty cool. That might be worth a little bit of money. I'm sure it'd be worth money in real life. On Magic Online, it's a little different. There's not a lot of cards that are worth money. So we have Deadbridge Shaman to add more elves, or Gravedigger just to work with these Scar Blades. I'm honestly really interested in just taking Gravedigger, I think. We want to have more ways to get cards back since we have double Scarblade now. And yeah, we still need more elves, but... And how many do we have now? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's not that bad. I think that we can take Gravedigger. Shaman of the pack with Entomb and Hymn to Torok and Eyeblight's Ending. This is a pack. A Shaman of the pack. Haha. I love him. Him is absolutely insane. Obviously gets worse later in the game, but there are some games where it just steals. If you can play this on turn 2 and you just randomly hit your opponent's 2 lands, then you have like a 3-land hand, you just win the game right there. It's over. But I think that we just might need the Shaman of the pack. I really need elves, and it's such a powerful one. I don't want to take the risk that it wheels. It seems like, based on the last pack, that it probably would, but if it doesn't, I feel like I'm going to be really disappointed, so I think that I need to take it. Alright, Lissalana Huntmaster. This is finally what we were really looking for, too. We need at least one of these. With Victimize, it's really important for us to get elf tokens, I think. So whenever we cast an elf spell, we get a 1/1 green elf warrior. And that's a slam pick for us. And Elvish Vanguard. Alright, this is really starting to cook. Honda and a Life's Web would actually be really nice, since we already have the Honda and a Knight's Reach, but I'd much rather have an Elvish Vanguard. We need 2-drops. It works really well with Lissalana Huntmaster, and I'm just desperate to have them. Also works very well with Wireward Symbiote. Return Civic Wayfinder, untap things, play Civic Wayfinder again, get an extra counter on this. If you have Lissalana Huntmaster in play, then you kind of see how all of those pieces, like, they seem really small, but they all kind of start grinding together. Because you bounce your Civic Wayfinder, you get to draw a card because you're getting a card out of your library, so you're basically up a card then. You also get to make a 1/1, and you get 2 counters onto Elvish Vanguard because you get the Huntmaster token, and you get the Civic Wayfinder coming back. And then on top of that, you might be able to untap like a Timberwatch Elf or a Scarblade, or even another creature that's doing something, like maybe Plague Witch. It's really, really quick that just starts churning out a lot of value for you. Over and over and over. Alright, well, Animate Dead or Tragic Slip. I have very little removal right now. I have a Zealous Persecution, a Pacifism, and an Annihilate. Have Plague Witch. I think that we might just need Tragic Slip here. I don't think that I'm Animate Deading a lot of things. And even if I do Animate Dead, is it that insane in my deck? I'm not going to play any like big 6-drop, 7-drop type creatures that are really, really good with an Animate Dead. Like, Twisted Abomination's great with an Animate Dead, because you just Swamp Cycle it, and then you play Animate Dead on it on turn 2 or 3 or something, and you win the game. But I don't think we need it here. I think we want the Tragic Slip. Eyeblight's Ending. Got another removal spell. I'll certainly accept that. Singular Autocrat, Wake Dancer. Ooh, Twisted Abomination. Oh, I can certainly take a Twisted Abomination as a finisher. I'm not super happy with it. I'd much rather have more elves, but I mean, it is what it is. We'll deal with it. Take out the Honden of Knight's Reach, I think. I'm not sure how much I like that yet, so we'll take that. This is kind of a split deck. It has a bit of both, 2 different things going on. It has a little bit of reanimation with Twisted Abomination and Gravediggers and the Victimize, and has a little bit of elves going on. It's not fully focused on elves. It's mostly, but it's got some other things going on too. I think that I might take a Blossoming Sands here over a second Twisted Abomination, Just because I would like to play Zealous Persecution and Pacifism. Zealous Persecution is really good if we can have Huntmaster out and making tokens. So yeah, I'll take the Sands and we'll see. Deadbridge Shaman. Ooh. Another elf. What can I cut for another elf? I might take out Sylvan Might. Could be reasonable. Sure, I think that I'll try that. I want to have as many elves as possible, like I've said before. Really missing getting a Llanowar elf, though. We got 0 of them. That's pretty bad. It is just a common. It's a pretty key part of your deck to try and ramp up to all these 3-drops that we have. Don't know that I care about anything here. Maybe Reckless Charge, because that card's very aggressive, and we might have trouble with a super aggro deck. Gravedigger coming late. Nature's Claim, decent sideboard card. It's going to be hard for us to play that Seal of Cleansing that we grabbed for white, and we might still need removal for enchantments and artifacts, so might as well grab that. Ooh, late Fervent Cathar. We don't want to play, like I said, against super aggro. I'll just get rid of it. Don't need to make the aggro deck too strong. Another Nature's Claim. So I guess this is the deck. I think that I'm okay with it this way. We can probably play... We can play 1 Plains, then we have 4 sources, because we have Civic Wayfinder and Pilgrim's Eye. That seems pretty reasonable. So add... Let's see what it says. 1 white and 8 and 5. So that actually gives us 9 black sources and 6 green sources. I think I want to go for 7 green sources. I have the double white in Lissalana Huntmaster. I also have the ability to Swamp Cycle Twisted Abomination to get a swamp that I need. And I don't mind doing that. I think I'm going to do that a fair portion of the time. Like, just search up swamps with that. So I think we're okay having a little bit of extra forests there. Alright, well, it could have been a little better, but it definitely could have been worse. This is an interesting enough deck, and I think it's got some spice to it. I like that it's a graveyard-focused elf deck with the Scarblades, which is kind of cool, and the Victimize. I haven't really played, like, a elf deck that was focused more on the black elves yet, like the Scarblades. The elf decks that I have had in the format have had a lot more like Elvish Vanguards and like maybe another Timberwatch Elf or Huntmasters, things like that. And I don't know that this is actually that much worse. So we'll take a look and see. It's very different than some of the other elf decks that I've had, and it's a slightly different build, but it could be just as good or maybe even better. So I'm happy to try it out, and we'll see how the rounds go. If we discard the Deadbridge Shaman, and then we can attack in. We'll let Glacial Wall block 3 damage here, but we put them down to 6. And then Shaman of the Pack is just lethal next turn.